A black woman stands alone in court and calls FBI agents to expose her while the judge smirks. In front of a chilly marble bench, a single mother's heart thuds like a sledgehammer inside her chest. It chills the crowded courtroom as a pompous judge with silver hair leans forward and grins condescendingly. The room echoes with whispers, but Maya Jackson refuses to back down despite her knees shaking. She has been mistreated, made fun of, and set up. The judge's bigoted sneer is both expected and terrifying. But Maya doesn't give up. She is unaware that the FBI's highest authorities are already conducting a covert probe, and all will be shattered when the truth is revealed. That morning, Maya Jackson awoke with a feeling of dread gnawing at her gut. She made every effort to ignore it. She had to consider her daughter, Brianna, who was 6 years old. The young child needs her mother to be strong and determined. However, Maya found herself mentally reliving all of the strange injustices she had already encountered. The sudden notice to leave given by her landlord. According to her boss, she was found stealing. And now, unbelievable, she has been summoned to appear in court on allegations that, until 2 weeks ago, she was unaware of. Like an afterthought, the summons was dumped into her mailbox in a simple white envelope with no return address. Her heart almost stopped when she opened it. The charges: deception, wrongdoing, and violation of the agreement. Never in her life had Maya stolen so much as a single coin. There it was, however, on Crestview County Superior Court letterhead. Her world seemed to be coming apart, one thread at a time. She prayed in a whisper as she put on her lone conservative garment for court, a faded black blazer and a knee-length gray skirt. Adversity was nothing new to her. The universe was eager to show her how difficult her struggles would be from the moment of her birth. Maya was raised in a dilapidated Chicago suburb and learned to seize every chance. She put a lot of effort into her studies, received scholarships, and eventually got a good position at a nearby bank. Her greatest pride was demonstrating to Brianna that you could overcome the constraints of your surroundings if you had faith and tenacity. Maya, however, could feel the limitations of an unseen system closing down on her. Justice occasionally sported a twisted grin as her mother's voice reverberated in her ears. However, Maya didn't think everything was gone. After gathering her legal papers and carefully placing them in a black folder, she left for a clear morning. She didn't have a lawyer because she couldn't currently afford one. However, she knew the truth. Maya sensed that people were watching her as she walked into the courthouse. She didn't imagine it. She saw some inquisitive looks, some pity looks. Maybe they could see her face dancing with nervousness. Or perhaps it was the hue of her skin in an environment that exuded antiquated manners. Scuffed floors and flickering fluorescent lights flanked the expansive hallways. There was a subtle scent of apprehension and stale coffee in the air. The cacophonous hum of voices reverberated off the high ceilings as she entered the designated courtroom and sank into a bench. Attorneys, security personnel, prosecutors, and defendants all merged into a whirlpool of nervous energy. Maya made an effort to relax herself and stabilize her breathing. She held her folder tightly to her chest. Maya looked around just before the judge sat down. She was by herself. No family member or acquaintance had been able to take time off work to help her. Because she didn't want to ask for aid, she despised her pride. She hoped Brianna wasn't at home with a neighbor, however, because she was quite concerned about her mother's condition. The door then opened, and everyone stood up for Judge Ronald Warwick. His silver hair brushed back from his temples, and he was a tall, thin guy. His robe draped over him like a shroud of power. What Maya saw most, though, was the look on his face when his eyes found her, a smirk that was barely restrained curling his lips. The bailiff said, "Be seated," and everyone shuffled silently in obedience. The whispers fell silent. Maya was afraid that everyone could hear the pounding of her heart. "I am innocent. I did nothing wrong," she told herself. But Maya felt a wave of fear as she met Judge Warwick's eyes. She felt as though she had been hit in the stomach by the air of superiority and scorn that pervaded his gaze. She pondered whether, without hearing a word, he had already made up his mind. Maya swore to fight in the silence of the courtroom. Without money or a lawyer, she wasn't sure how, but she refused to accept unfair treatment. She had no idea that her ordeal in the courtroom was only the beginning. There were much darker, much greater forces at work. Additionally, she was unaware that an FBI inquiry had already started. In the end, the smiling judge would be overthrown by the seeds of truth that had already been sown. The voice of the bailiff reverberated across the room. The people vs. Maya Jackson, case number 4287. Charges embezzlement, fraud, and contract violations. The courtroom gallery echoed with whispered gasps. Every phrase struck Maya's chest like a hammer. With whitening knuckles and tears on the verge of spilling, she clutched the edge of the table. Judge Warwick's throat cleared. "In what way do you plead, Miss Jackson?" Maya stood with a quivering voice. "Your Honor, I'm innocent." The judge's features danced with a slight gleam of laughter. "Good. Let's move forward with the preliminary hearing." Assistant District Attorney Jacob Rowan, the prosecutor, came forward. He was someone Maya had seen on local newscasts. He was known for his combative approach. He had a reputation for being unstoppable in his quest for convictions, regardless of how weak the evidence. He opened a file and started reading. In her position at Crestview Bank, Maya allegedly purposefully falsified financial records, transferring funds from customers' accounts over a 6-month period. The entire amount mentioned, more than $85,000, was astounding. Maya felt her stomach lurch. This was not feasible. She had never seen these dubious accounts, which she was now accused of manipulating, nor had she ever taken a dime. In addition, the prosecutor's voice roared. Miss Jackson committed to maintaining the highest levels of integrity in her contract with the bank. She also violates her contract by betraying that confidence. Maya took a firm seat. Her thoughts whirled. Who planned this? Why? Maya could almost feel the harsh look Judge Warwick gave her slicer. "You may defend yourself, Miss Jackson, but you are unrepresented. Is that right?" She swallowed and nodded. "Your Honor, indeed. Right now, I can't afford an attorney." "Well," Warwick murmured, his lips forming that same smug grin. "You understand this is a big issue, don't you?" "Yes, I do, Your Honor." He pointed contemptuously at the pile of documents Maya was holding. "What proof do you have against the accusation made by the prosecution?" Maya held out her folder with trembling hands. "I have references, performance reviews, and job documents. I also have proof that I was working on other projects throughout the relevant dates. I never came across any of the dubious transactions. I never had access to or clearance for the aforementioned accounts." Leaning back, the judge tapped a pen against the bench. "Is that all?" She had constriction in her throat. "Yes, Your Honor, for the time being." Rowan gave Maya a patronizing look. "I would like to ask that Miss Jackson be placed under tight monitoring or even placed in custody, Your Honor. She may be a flight risk, and we have cause to think so." Maya let out a loud gasp. It was a ridiculous idea. She had a house and a daughter. The remnants of a house, that is. She had neither the resources nor the will to escape. However, she caught a glimpse of the judge's lips twisting once again, as if he was taking pleasure in this. "Okay," murmured Warwick, looking down at Maya. "The bail amount is $50,000. There was silence. She couldn't afford even a small portion of the sum. If she wanted to experience freedom prior to trial, she would have to enter into a bail bonds arrangement, assuming that was even possible given her limited financial resources. Maya sensed a rise in panic. There was a sense of something hidden about the whole event. Why was a non-violent offense carrying such a high bond amount? Why was she suddenly accused of these false charges? When the hearing was over, Maya felt a knot in her stomach. She heard Rowan laughing with Judge Warwick as the court officers led her to a holding facility to be processed for an overnight stay until bail could be arranged. There was an undercurrent of disdain in the faint buzz of their words. Her eyes ached as she looked back at them. The last thing she noticed before a guard nudged her forward was Warwick's sneer. Maya's mind was racing with questions, anxiety, and rage in the hallway. She made an effort to remember each day she had been at Crestview Bank. She had been an excellent worker, showing in early, staying late, and receiving no disciplinary action. She wasn't exactly living in luxury. Her worn-out Honda was sufficient evidence of her financial situation. Then, was responsible for this false charge. They led her into a tiny, white room with fluorescent lights that flickered. An officer started the intake procedure there. Mugshot, fingerprints, etc. Every stride Maya took caused her stomach to sink even more. The shame of it, as if she were a criminal. But for Brianna's sake, she made herself keep her head up. This was not the end of it. She heard two guards conversing at the door while she waited. When one guard casually brought up Judge Warwick and his after-hours gatherings, the other guard laughed sarcastically. The mention of the judge's name made Maya's ears perk up, despite her best efforts to ignore it. Nevertheless, the guards remained silent and spoke in low voices. Maya swore then and there to find the truth, no matter what. She would not stop until she exposed Judge Warwick, the prosecutor, or anyone at the bank who might have been complicit. She merely hoped that she would have the strength and bravery to confront men who were considerably more powerful than she was. Behind the scenes, Maya had no idea that her resolve was going to clash with a strong ally. As Maya was taken to the Crestview County Detention Center, night fell. The fluorescent overhead lights buzzed constantly, preventing her from sleeping soundly, and she was given a thin blanket and a rigid, narrow cot. Her heart hurt. She feared that her daughter, Brianna, could wake up in the middle of the night and miss her mother's consoling presence. Reminding herself that this was just temporary, Maya fought back tears. It must have been. Harold Wickham was sitting behind a big mahogany desk in a luxurious office on the top floor of the Crestview Bank building across town. He was the bank's regional director, a man Maya had hardly ever met in her time there. Angrily, he tapped a fountain pen against a pile of papers. Even though it was almost midnight on the wall clock, his forehead remained furrowed in focus. Kevin McKenzie, a board member of the bank, sat in front of him. Kevin had Maya's photo paper clipped to the inside of a folder he was leafing through. The prosecutor's description of the accusations against her was clear and concise. "Are you positive this is waterproof?" With a hint of frustration in his voice, Kevin inquired. Harold inhaled deeply. Maya Jackson will be held accountable as long as Rowan and the judge fulfill their duties. She lacks the resources to combat this, and we have our methods, even if she tries. Kevin gave him a doubtful look. "It bothers me. I don't think Maya is the type, and the timeline appears disorganized. She received excellent performance assessments. She has never displayed any wrongdoing." Harold gave a shrug. "She's the ideal scapegoat because of this. People will be horrified, but after a conviction is obtained, the shock will subside. We'll make sure that nobody tracks down the true destination of the missing money in the interim." There was quiet. Harold's eyes strayed to a corner of his office where a small red light blinked from a security camera. He reminded himself that it was better to leave things vague. Kevin shut the folder. "Okay, I'll believe what you say. However, you will be held accountable if something goes wrong. I refuse to allow the bank's reputation to suffer due to one employee that you choose to frame." The term seems so obvious, frame. Harold just gave a nod. It was Maya's fault if she was too innocent to see it coming. A thin, bespectacled guy walked the living room of his little apartment later that night, a laptop open on the table, while Maya slept restlessly in her cell. He was assigned to the FBI Chicago field office and went by the name of Special Agent David Shawn. He wasn't a senior official, but he had been investigating a suspicion that money was being embezzled from nearby companies. He was alerted to suspect financial activity by a whistleblower at Crestview Bank. Shawn had started digging on a hunch when the case of Maya Jackson appeared with flashing, brilliant lights. The specifics were just too easy. A model worker was abruptly charged with embezzlement. Corruption permeated the entire story. Shawn looked through the encrypted data and saw Maya's perfect record. Known for her honesty and dedication, this single mother is relatively new to the area and has never into a foul of the police. And now here she was accused of masterminding a sophisticated financial scam. Shawn had a gut feeling that Maya was a piece in a bigger game. Chan's phone pinging with a message. "I heard that tonight Maya Jackson was processed. Bail has not yet been posted. She's in a cell, rotting." He received the message from an unknown person he had met at the courts. Chan's worries were only heightened by the whirlwind of suspicion surrounding Judge Warwick's name. Warwick had a history of rendering dubious decisions involving defendants of race, especially those with low incomes. Chan scrawled in a little leather-bound notebook, "Maya Jackson, scapegoat or equal sign suspect. Possible collusion. Leadership of Crestview Bank. Judge Warwick, ADA Rowan. Continue your research." Little things were already moving in Maya's favor, but she was unaware of it. Even if the FBI isn't a single organization that can be called upon at any time, there are still honest agents on the field. They noticed trends that others would ignore. They had enough concern to challenge the current quo. Chan would soon present his results to his superiors. Someone in a position of authority would see the name Maya Jackson. Someone has the power to shift the balance of justice. Maya, meantime, was awake and gazing up at her dark cell's ceiling. She questioned how she had ended herself, so isolated and surrounded. She reflected on Brianna's radiant smile and the child's endearing, unwavering trust in her mother. Maya's strength to persevere came from that one memory. In the silence of the prison, she prayed softly, her words bursting forth, "I'll demonstrate my innocence." However, Maya was unaware of the extent of the corruption or the actual risk posed by her adversaries. Judge Warwick was just the tip of the spear, with a sly smile and strong connections to Crestview's Old Boys network. Maya would be interfering with a system that is meant to protect men like him if she wanted to bring him down. However, fate was already tying together things that Maya couldn't understand. The first ray of optimism would appear in a few days, from an unlikely place. And that hope would have repercussions that would extend all the way to the J. The FBI's headquarters are located in the Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, D.C. Maya was led back into the courtroom early the following morning. Despite her tired and unkempt appearance, she made an effort to maintain her composure. Overnight, she was able to get in touch with a bail bondsman, who agreed to post her bail in exchange for a loan that Maya would have to repay over the course of years. However, Maya will stop at nothing to be with her daughter again. Once more, with his icy, arrogant manner, the judge inquired as to whether Maya planned to hire a lawyer. She nodded, but she wasn't sure if she could afford good legal advice because of her chaotic financial situation. Judge Warwick demanded a trial date of 3 weeks, which is a very short time frame for a fraud case. Maya's uneasiness was only heightened by the speed. Preparation for such instances typically took months. However, Maya had a suspicion that Warwick was eager to get it done quickly, so she would have little opportunity to put up a strong defense. A small woman with curling brown hair and bright green eyes approached Maya as she left the courthouse. She held a stack of papers in her arms and was dressed simply in jeans and a blouse. Maya looked in confusion and said, "Miss Jackson, wait." "Yes, Rebecca Murphy, an investigative journalist with the Crestview Times, gave me her business card." She continued quietly, looking around to make sure no one was listening. "I've been following your case. There's something wrong with it. Are you open to speaking with me?" Maya looked at the card and paused. Because she was worried about dramatic headlines, she was cautious around the media. Murphy, however, spoke with a genuineness that appealed to Maya's intuition. And Maya did require assistance. Anyone who could bring the truth to light. "Yes, I will speak with you." Rebecca responded, "Thank you," with a tone of relief. "I'll send you a message to arrange a time." "Maya, you're not alone in this." Maya's eyes pricked with tears. She pressed her lips together and nodded before turning to leave. Maya was back at her small apartment by late afternoon. Under the neighbor's careful eye, she discovered her daughter coloring quietly at the kitchen table. Brianna ran across the room as soon as she saw Maya, throwing her tiny arms around her mother's waist. With her toddler in her arms, Maya crouched and breathed in the delightful aroma of bubblegum shampoo. The weight eased for a moment. At least she was home. "Mommy, how was your evening?" Brianna's big eyes blinked curiously as she questioned. The child's braids were softly brushed back by Maya. "It's okay," she said. "I really missed you." She gave herself permission to forget the case's impending darkness for a few priceless moments. However, she was soon forced to attend to practical problems. She was now unemployed and unpaid. In addition to the threat of a long prison term if she was unable to clear her name, there were legal bills to consider. Rebecca Murphy and Maya Murphy met that night in a secluded area of a nearby cafe. Maya described how her entire world turned upside down: the odd charges, the judge's sneer, the unusually expensive bail, and everything else. Rebecca took notes as she listened carefully. The reporter's brows squinted as she sat back in her chair after Maya was done. She mentioned rumors she had heard about Judge Warwick. Rich donors have been known to give him hush-hush political contributions. Usually it's bankers, real estate tycoons, and so on. He then gives them favorable verdicts in return. However, I've never been able to prove him. He has a lot of connections. Every time I approached, my sources ceased to exist. Maya's heartbeat accelerated. Do you believe that the bank is responsible for this? A contract of any kind with Warwick? Rebecca tapped her paper with her pen. You would be the ideal scapegoat, a low-level employee, and an easy target if the bank's leadership needed someone to ascribe the missing money to, someone to divert attention from their own misconduct. Additionally, Warwick will make sure that your side of the story is suppressed if he is in their pocket. Maya's throat grew constricted. That isn't allowed. Can we demonstrate it? That's what I'm going to discover. If I discover concrete proof, I will post it. The whole people should be informed. They traded contact details. It gave Maya a glimmer of hope. She knew it was dangerous. If something were really being planned by powerful guys, they wouldn't think twice about intimidating or silencing a journalist. However, Maya could not afford to give up. Maya's freedom and Brianna's future were at stake. They were unaware that a hooded individual was lurking in the shadows across the street, using a long lens camera to take pictures of their encounter. The person produced a phone and sent a text message with some of the pictures attached as Maya and Rebecca were leaving. I need guidelines for a meeting with a local reporter. Someone posing as a friend in the legal system sent Maya a mysterious email the next morning. The message said, "I think you're not guilty. Nobody in that courthouse is trustworthy. Record all of your interactions and conversations. If you persist, the truth will be revealed." Maya read it again, her heart racing with a mixture of hope and fear. Who was this enigmatic comrade? Was it a ruse? She couldn't find out. Special Agent David Chon, meantime, went through Crestview Bank's financial statements in the FBI's Chicago field office and compared them to Maya's case. He tracked the $85,000's progress in tiny steps. Before hopping across several platforms, the transfers resulted in shell accounts. Harold Whitcomb, however, was a name that surfaced in the backdrop of these deals. Chon found enough warning signs to move forward. In a formal request to take the situation to the next level, he put up a detailed explanation of how Maya Jackson was probably being framed as part of a larger plot. By the end of the day, Chon was summoned in by Supervisory Special Agent Alicia Grant, his boss. Holding up his request, she remarked, "Chon, you have my attention. This is serious. There may have been a high-level cover-up, embezzlement, and a corrupt judge. Are you certain about your proof?" Chon swallowed and nodded. "I'm making a compelling case, but I need more time and money. In 3 weeks, Maya Jackson will stand trial. We may lose the opportunity to uncover a significant corruption network and risk the imprisonment of an innocent woman if we do not take immediate action." Eyeing the statistics, Grant pursed her lips. "Okay, I'll approve a more thorough inquiry. Be careful and keep me informed. Warwick won't enjoy the FBI prying into his affairs if he is as strong as you claim." With relief and trepidation churning in his stomach, Chon thanked her and walked away. He had a feeling that Maya was being tightened in the noose. The magnitude of the forces opposing her was unknown to her. But now that the FBI was on high alert, Maya had an invisible barrier growing around her that may perhaps save her life and reveal the truth about this case. Maya devoted the following week to getting ready for her defense. She scribbled notes on her daily responsibilities at Crestview Bank, studied every element of her bank's code of conduct, and checked out law textbooks from the public library. She created a timetable and matched it to the bogus transactions. She forwarded information whenever she could to Rebecca Murphy, who surreptitiously searched the bank's maze of documents for leads. Maya was exhausted from the daily grind. She occasionally had a sense of hopelessness. She was up against strong men who had access to almost infinite resources. But she kept going because she thought about Brianna. Maya received that mysterious email from the unidentified buddy in the legal system again at night after putting her daughter to bed. The thought that someone out there actually believed her was rather reassuring. The doorbell rang one day when Maya was arranging her papers on the kitchen table. She looked cautiously through the peephole. Standing in the hallway, looking at a folder in his hand, was a slim Asian man wearing a clean suit. Maya felt her heart race. She remembered the day she'd been detained, but she didn't recognize him. Was a comparable suit worn by an officer? She did not know. She cracked open the door. Indeed? Gently, the man said, "Miss Jackson, David Chan is my name. I work for the FBI." He displayed a badge of identification. Maya's gaze expanded. A part of her was afraid. Would she be arrested again soon? However, she also remembered that mysterious email's reference to the FBI. She opened the door for him, tentatively. Chan looked around the modest living room and saw Brianna's toys scattered everywhere. With a courteous smile, he inquired if she was by herself. Maya gave a nod. Maya was thankful that Brianna was at school. She was careful not to frighten her toddler. He sat on the couch and said, "I'm here because your case has come across my desk. I think there's strong evidence that you're being set up." Maya gasped with surprise. "Framed? Can you assist me?" With caution, Chan stated, "That's our hope. I cannot guarantee results right away. However, my group and I are investigating Judge Warwick and other Crestview Bank employees. We believe you were set up as the victim of a massive embezzlement scheme." Maya's eyes pricked with tears of relief. "I'm not sure how to express my gratitude. I can't afford a lawyer who can take on them, and no one seems to believe me." Chan gave an empathetic nod. "I get it. Regretfully, you must still show up for court. However, we can expose this scenario if we collect enough proof. Charges and criminal indictments against those involved may be dropped as a result." Although Maya's heart was racing, she controlled her optimism. "What can I do for you?" "Anything that could prove your innocence or suggest misconduct by others, including emails, memoranda, transaction records, personal notes, and other documents. Be cautious as well. These individuals may attempt to bribe you, threaten you, or worse if they suspect a federal inquiry." Maya explained each document in the big packet she was handing over. Chan listened carefully, taking notes now and then. Finally, he added, "Your trial is in 2 weeks. The FBI's wheels sometimes turn slowly, but we're doing our best to move as fast as we can. I'll try my best to get things done quickly." She gave a nod. "Agent Chan, thank you. There are no words to describe my gratitude." He smiled kindly at her. "Hold on. We'll communicate." Following Chan's departure, Maya collapsed onto the couch, feeling a surge of cautious optimism. Is it possible that justice would ultimately win out? She was more determined than ever to not only protect herself, but also to expose the true perpetrators. Judge Warwick, meantime, had a private meeting with Harold Wickham in a room at the nearby country club. Harold paced restlessly as the judge sipped scotch. "We're having trouble," Harold stated sternly. "The FBI is reportedly probing around. Our insider in the courts, an agent named Chan, gave us the tip." Warwick's jaw tightened as he put down his drink. "We must move quickly to implement our plan if the FBI is engaged. Maya's trial has been scheduled. I'll see to it that the jury is loaded and that the proceedings progress quickly. She won't have time to collect any proof that will clear her." "Well, that's not enough," Harold said. "The FBI looking through the bank's documents is unacceptable to me. I'm done if they link me to the missing money." Warwick's eyes glowed scornfully. "Let me take care of that. Keep your documents properly hidden and your staff quiet. Maya won't see the light of day because we'll bury her in so much legal squalor. And the issue will be resolved by the time the federal government learns of it." They began discussing hush-hush details that, if they were successful, would guarantee Maya's demise. Each man knew that the stakes had just increased dramatically as they shook hands firmly and parted ways. In Washington, D.C., far away, at the J, Supervisory Special Agent Alicia Grant glanced over David Chan's most recent report from the Edgar Hoover building. The evidence implicated not only Judge Warwick, but also a network of local authorities who had engaged in years-long corruption. Due to the complexity of the case, careful infiltration and strict surveillance would be necessary. She sent Chan a brief email. "Be careful as you go. You're covered by us. Let's make Crestview more visible." Despite their tendency to move slowly, the wheels of justice were turning. Once alone and overwhelmed, Maya Jackson now had allies she could never have imagined. A new chapter in her life was beginning, despite the powerful forces working against her. One where the truth and the unstoppable force of karma will confront the strong manipulations of individuals such as Judge Warwick and Harold Whitcomb. Crestview County was tense in the days before Maya's trial. Among law enforcement, prosecutors, and courthouse employees, rumors of FBI involvement spread like wildfire. For his part, Judge Warwick appeared to conduct himself normally, but astute onlookers noticed a tightness in his features, a hint of anxiety hidden beneath the well-honed haughtiness. Brianna talked about school while Maya prepared dinner for her at her apartment. The toddler was blissfully oblivious to the trial that was about to begin. Maya was appreciative of her daughter's purity. It protected Brianna from the storm that was brewing outside their door. Maya's phone chimed while she was stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce. When she grabbed it off the counter, she saw an unidentified number. Her heartbeat was guarded as she responded. "Miss Jackson," said Rebecca Murphy in a quiet voice. "Hello, Rebecca. I just wanted to let you know. I was able to locate a junior employee at Crestview Bank who asserts that Harold Whitcomb personally fabricated your participation in the stolen monies by altering internal logs." Maya's gaze expanded. "That's the smoking gun, isn't it?" "It might be," Rebecca warned. "However, the worker is truly frightened. They worry about their safety and even their jobs. It's difficult for me to persuade them to go on record." Maya let out a slow breath. "Inform them that they can talk to the FBI. Agent David Chan is looking into whether they can provide evidence that would shield them. That's what I already suggested. However, they wish to stay nameless. They mentioned Judge Warwick's tendency to eliminate those who oppose him." Maya felt a shiver run up her spine. She was familiar with the fear. "Please keep me updated. Of course, be careful." They ended the call. Maya's heart was racing as she gazed at the phone. The truth was about to be revealed by someone at the bank. Maya's trial might serve as a catalyst for all of the covert corruption if that were to occur. She hoped the terrified worker would come forward. Later on in the evening, Maya crept into Brianna's room. The girl had a cherished teddy bear in her arms while she slept soundly. Maya's protectiveness was overwhelming. What would happen to Brianna if the worst happened and Maya was put in jail? Maya's resolve was rekindled only by that notion. Determined to do whatever it takes to keep her freedom and take care of her daughter, she secretly moved away. The following morning, Maya was met by an unexpected guest, an elderly woman in a sharp navy suit with warm brown eyes. She identified herself as Celeste Evans, a lawyer from a nearby legal aid group. "We learned about your case, Ms. Jackson. We must do it pro gratis, according to one of our donors." Maya blinked incredulously. Why would they act in that way? "I'm appreciative," but Celeste smiled kindly. "Sometimes, even when acting anonymously, people want to do the right thing. I would like to represent you at trial, if you don't mind." A wave of relief washed over Maya. "Yes, without a doubt. Thank you, Ms. Evans." For the next few hours, they gathered around Maya's kitchen table and reviewed all of her evidence. Celeste carefully outlined a defensive plan while posing incisive questions. Maya was astounded by the woman's thoroughness and the methodical way she exposed weaknesses in the prosecution's case. Maya felt like she had a real chance in the courtroom for the first time. Harold Whitcomb barged into a tiny back office of the Crestview Bank that same day, located halfway across town. He slammed the door behind him and faced Dennis, the junior employee who had confided in Rebecca Murphy, a shaky cashier. Harold snarled and pressed a finger into the clerk's chest. "I know you've been talking to a reporter. Do you consider yourself a hero? I'll tell you something. If you say one word, your career is done. Do you get it?" Dennis stumbled, perspiration dripping from his forehead. Harold scoffed. "I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't pretend to be innocent. Don't say anything about the logs." Unless you want me to use you as an example. It's that easy. Harold then bounded out, leaving Dennis trembling. Fear and shame tore at the clerk as he fumbled for his phone. Even though he had evidence that Maya was innocent, he was still very concerned about the possibility of going public. In the meantime, Supervisory Special Agent Alicia Grant met with FBI Agent David Chan to discuss the progress. Thanks to an anonymous contributor, Maya Jackson now has a new attorney. Interesting, Grant thought as he scanned a document. Did that involve you in any way? It was Chan, not me, who shook his head. Perhaps a local person notices the injustice. Grant tapped the desk with her pen. Enough circumstantial evidence has been gathered to support a more thorough investigation of Harold Whitcomb. Additionally, there are unverified rumors that Judge Warwick is connected to a hush fund that bank executives are funding. We require verifiable witness testimony, bank statements, a ledger, and something tangible. I'm on it, Chan nodded. In a week, the trial will begin. Should Maya be compelled to appear before that judge without additional proof in her favor, the results could be catastrophic. However, Warwick will not be able to complete a conviction if we expose this in advance. Time is our adversary, Chan, Grant moaned. I'll try my best to move it up the chain, so get what we need. There was a sense of urgency in Chan. The future of Maya was at stake. Not only Maya's, but also maybe those of other people who were framed before. Numerous lives had allegedly been wrecked by Judge Warwick's racist bias and dishonest connections. This was the FBI's opportunity to permanently put an end to his corrupt reign. Celeste Evans and Maya were rummaging through documents at her kitchen table as the sun began to drop. They rehearsed the questions the prosecutor may ask Maya during her testimony. Celeste urged Maya to remain calm, reminding her that the jury's opinion would be just as important as the evidence. Do you think I'm innocent, Celeste? Maya asked softly at one time. Celeste put down her pen and looked directly at Maya. I do, Maya. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I'll do everything I can to support your compelling argument. Gratitude squeezed Maya's chest. She gave a slight smile. I really don't think I can do this alone. Thank you. Celeste touched the forearm of Maya. Now you're not alone. We'll get this done. With that determination, Maya moved forward. She now had a lawyer, a journalist searching for the truth, and an FBI agent working tirelessly behind the scenes, despite the tremendous forces of corruption. Maya planned to meet the day of reckoning head-on, and it was drawing near. She was unable to predict every turn fate would take, but she would quickly learn how powerful the truth can be when the proper people stand up for it. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Maya smoothed the wrinkles out of her best blouse while standing in front of the mirror. Her hands were shaking from the strain of expectation, and her hair was pushed back nicely. This is my chance to clear my name, she thought. Maya was picked up by Celeste Evans, who helped her get into a car. Maya prepared herself for war as they rode together in quiet to the courthouse. Not that she had any illusions about her influence in the courtroom, but she was holding a tiny folder of notes. Everything hinged on Celeste's expertise and the hope that the journalist or FBI proof would surface in time. Maya sat at the defense table in the opulent courtroom. Jacob Rowan, the prosecutor, looked at her with a predatory assurance. Judge Warwick presided with his customary detached coldness. However, Maya noticed a glimmer of discomfort behind the judge's eyes. Opening comments were made at the start of the case. Rowan portrayed Maya as a cunning worker who violated trust and contractual duties by abusing her position at the bank to embezzle money. He displayed partial transaction logs and portrayed it as an open and closed matter. As the evidence was presented, Maya's heart began to speed. Everything had been thoughtfully chosen to point toward her, including her login information and the account's close proximity. She became aware of how completely she had been set up. Celeste answered calmly and decisively. She presented Maya's flawless employment record, references from colleagues who had complete faith in her, and the fact that she had not engaged in any questionable behavior or received any unexpected financial benefits. Celeste noted that Ms. Jackson's bank account is always close to zero. Her vehicle is outdated. She has no assets that would support a theft of $85,000. The whole situation is illogical. Judge Warwick squinted, but remained silent. The prosecution called in bank officials over the course of the following few days, and they reiterated the same predetermined story. Maya was able to get in. Maya had a chance. It must have been Maya. Celeste pointed out contradictions in them during a ferocious cross-examination. However, the judge upheld numerous prosecution objections, which restricted Celeste's interrogation options. Every time Warwick overruled Celeste, Maya saw his smirk. The jury appeared to be split. Some appeared empathetic. Rowan's self-assured performance appeared to influence others. A surprise witness testified on the third day. Dennis, Crestview Bank's junior clerk. When Maya saw him, her heart leaped. Rebecca had called about him, she recalled. Was he going to come clean at last? Dennis was obviously anxious. As seen by the perspiration, he was perspiring. He stated in his testimony that he had discovered the disparities in the bank's records. He claims that during her lunch breaks, Maya utilized her login credentials. There were times when Maya wasn't at her desk. Celeste seized upon that particular element. Are you implying, Mr. Dennis, that Maya Jackson was not physically present at her computer when these questionable transactions took place? Celeste inquired. He did stammer. That's right. I agree. However, her credentials were used. That can indicate that she handed someone else her password. Or perhaps she did it virtually. Celeste shoved him. Have you ever seen Maya take long breaks from her computer? Or notice anything out of the ordinary about her desk? Dennis glanced over at Harold Whitcomb, who was sitting in the gallery. He swallowed after that. Harold Whitcomb, a manager, was once at her desk, I believe. However, I'm not sure if that matters. The courtroom echoed with an enthusiastic murmur. Maya felt her here. T-pound. She needed this more than anything else. Could you give further details? Celeste inquired. However, the prosecutor raised an objection before Dennis could respond. Your Honor, I object. Speculative and irrelevant. The gavel of Judge Warwick pounded. Maintained. Go on, Miss Evans. Maya felt nauseous. The vital connection that may have revealed Whitcomb's direct involvement was being blocked by Warwick. Dennis looked guilty and relieved as he sank off the stand. Maya understood the depth of intimidation. That afternoon, Maya caught up to Dennis by the steps outside the courthouse. I appreciate you sharing even that much, she muttered. I am aware that it required bravery. He looked away from her. I apologize for not being able to do more. I was threatened by Whitcomb. My mother is ill, and I have a family. I simply cannot let my job go. Maya wasn't sure if she should be angry with him or comfort him. Nevertheless, she managed to speak softly. I get it. Thank you for being honest. As the trial's last day drew closer, Maya's internal strain tightened. The situation appeared dire since Warwick had concealed Dennis's partial testimony. The judge rejected Celeste's attempt to subpoena the bank's internal computer logs, stating that it was either unnecessary or time-consuming. Maya thought the game was rigged. Then Maya got a call from Agent Chan the night before closing arguments. We have something, Maya, he remarked, his voice full of enthusiasm. To search Harold Whitcomb's electronic devices. We were granted a warrant. We located the real logs. While you were clocking out, they display Whitcomb logging and repeatedly using your credentials. The smoking gun is that. We also discovered correspondence about payoffs between Whitcomb and Judge Warwick. Maya's knees almost gave out. Are you serious? Chan went on. The U.S. Attorney's Office is working with us. We might be able to move in before the trial is out. Don't turn off your phone. Maya's vision was obscured by tears of relief. The truth was now at hand. Celeste and Maya were up late that night, planning to use this fresh evidence if the FBI could get it allowed in time. Maya experienced a surge of resolve. She pictured Judge Warwick's expression upon seeing FBI proof. The thought itself pushed her ahead. Judge Warwick, however, was not an idiot. The net must have closed on him. To make sure Maya's trial finished before the government could step in, he gave Harold Whitcomb one last call that evening, instructing him to delete everything that might be used against her. They decided to try one final time to convict Maya. Tomorrow. Both men were unaware that their phones had already been tapped. It was all documented by the FBI. It was going to get stormy. Tension was high as the trial's last day broke. Hoping for the best, Maya came to the courthouse expecting the worst. As she entered the building, there was an odd silence. Harold Whitcomb wasn't there. Seated at the bench, Judge Warwick's smirk had given way to a tight-lipped sternness. In his concluding remarks, Prosecutor Rowan described Maya as a crafty crook. Maya felt her stomach turn. She hoped Celeste's reply would be compelling enough to make the jurors question their decision. Celeste stood, quiet conviction vibrating in her words. She emphasized the contradictory chronology, disproved the idea that Maya had any motivation, and reminded the jury of Dennis' testimony. Even though it was incomplete, it showed that Maya's credentials were being used when she wasn't there. Celeste concluded, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client is a single mother who makes ends meet. She had no opportunity or justification for committing this crime. We have grounds to suspect that Ms. Jackson was set up, and the real criminal is still at large. I implore you to examine the facts rather than the conjectures." Some jurors nodded carefully, suggesting that they were paying attention. The judge delivered the customary deliberation instructions, but Maya saw that Warwick's brow was sweating. He felt nervous. A sudden uproar broke out just as the jury was being led away for deliberation. When the courthouse doors opened, a team of federal agents under the command of David Chon emerged. The crowd let out gasps, and Maya felt her heart jump to her throat. "I apologize for disturbing you, Your Honor," Chon said as he moved forward. "In addition to a search and seizure order for material relevant to this trial, we have federal warrants for Harold Whitcomb's arrest." The face of Judge Warwick became white. He hammered his gavel with a power never seen before. "What does this interruption mean? You don't have the right to storm into my court without warning, Agent." Chon refused to back down. "We respect you, Your Honor, and we do. We have proof that Harold Whitcomb, working with others, set up Miss Jackson. We further suspect that you, Judge Warwick, have contributed to the concealment of this. We have an arrest warrant for you as well." Maya's eyes widened in shock as the courtroom descended into turmoil, with witnesses screaming and reporters rushing. Unsure whether to laugh or cry, she held onto the edge of the table. Celeste put a hand on Maya's shoulder and looked victorious. Judge Warwick barked, "Bailiff, take these men away. This is outrageous. Here, I am the presiding judge." The bailiff and the federal agents looked at each other uncertainly. Chon displayed the official warrants with composure. "Get down. Federal law takes precedence. Your Honor, we have unmistakable evidence that you took money in exchange for influencing court decisions and fabricating evidence against Miss Jackson. Harold Whitcomb, who tried to escape the county this morning, is already in the custody of our agents." As if considering an escape, Judge Warwick's gaze flitted to the side exit. However, that concept was squelched by the appearance of several federal agents. He was furious. "This is lies and slander. I haven't done anything improper. My decisions were reasonable and compliant with the law." Chon stepped up and responded, "Then you can explain that to a federal judge. You're joining us for the time being." There was stunned stillness in the courtroom. The jury gaped as they watched. Maya felt her heart pound. It was all moving so quickly. She saw Judge Warwick splutter with outrage and swear under his breath as two agents led him away. Chon then spoke to Maya in a softer tone. "You can leave, Miss Jackson. You are fully exonerated by the evidence we have. With immediate effect, the U.S. Attorney's Office will attempt to dismiss all charges." Maya's eyes filled with tears. Celeste blinked back her own emotional outburst as she held on to her. Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her body and spirit. She had gotten ready for a final stand a day ago, perhaps facing years behind bars. She was now free from the grip of injustice once the truth was revealed by the collapsing web of corruption. They dismissed the stunned jurors. With their cameras flashing, reporters rushed to get Maya's statement. However, Maya was too overwhelmed to talk clearly. She wanted to give her kid a hug and enjoy her independence. She got a few words out. "I'm just thankful that justice was done. I'm not guilty." Celeste led Maya along a side hallway and away from the whirling media craze. Maya looked up at the sky and breathed in the fresh air outside while tears streamed down her face. Indeed, she was free. Agent Chon spoke to a group of cameras nearby, transferring responsibility for the stolen money away from Whitcomb and his network, after a thorough investigation, uncovered a plot to implicate Maya. He also attested to Judge Warwick's involvement, stating that he had obstructed justice and taken bribes. Maya snuck away, distraught and tired, despite the paparazzi's cries for her presence. In order to be reminded that this nightmare was now gone by her daughter's joy, she wanted to hug Brianna. Maya was aware that her life had altered, though. The trauma would persist even after the truth was revealed. She has experienced the worst aspects of prejudice, corruption, and treachery. She had also lived. Before the top FBI officials exposed the racist judge who sneered at a black woman standing by herself in court, the headlines would be blaring. By demonstrating that tenacity and the strength of truth could overthrow even the most powerful corrupt regimes, Maya believed her story would encourage those in similar circumstances. Crestview County appeared to be in turmoil in the weeks after Maya's trial came to a spectacular end. The scandal that shook the local legal system was headlined with Maya's name. A bank executive was implicated in the corruption charges that led to Judge Ronald Warwick's incarceration. Maya was thrown into an unwanted limelight in the short following. Reporters gathered outside her residence, demanding to speak with her. She politely declined the majority of them, preferring to concentrate on Brianna and the tiny sliver of normalcy they could regain. When the reporter stopped by, Maya told Rebecca Murphy, "I want things to be quiet again. For Brianna's sake, the sight of all those cameras is confusing." Rebecca gave an empathetic nod. "I get it, but your narrative matters, Maya. It reveals a flawed system. I can make sure it's handled politely if you're open to talking." Maya let out a sigh. "Give it some thought. I just want to breathe free air for the time being." Judge Warwick waited for trial behind bars. A long range of accusations, including accepting bribes, tampering with evidence, and violating civil rights, were floated. After being discovered attempting to flee the town, Harold Whitcomb was now facing a mound of indictments, fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy charges. Once exuding unstoppable power, the duo was reduced to scurrying between court appearances while wearing orange jumpsuits. Karma struck hard. The case against them was strong because of the evidence that Agent Sean and his FBI colleagues produced. In an attempt to escape the same fate, former colleagues separated themselves in large numbers. With Maya's success, more victims, those who had received dubious verdicts in Warwick's courtroom, started to come forward. The legacy of corruption and intolerance in Warwick was cemented with each new witness. Celeste accompanied Maya as she met with lawyers to talk about a possible civil lawsuit against Crestview Bank and the county court system. Although Maya didn't want to return to court, she required restitution for the ordeal she had gone through. She desired institutional transformation more than anything else. Maya firmly informed Celeste, "I'm not doing this for money. In order to prevent them from doing this to others, I want them to suffer the repercussions." Celeste completely agreed. "We'll request a settlement that covers a review of all previous Warwick rulings, as well as a revamp of bank monitoring. Real reform can only be ensured in this way." Maya experienced a twinge of nervousness when she first returned to Crestview Bank, this time accompanied by her lawyer. There was a noticeable silence among the staff as she picked up documents for the civil complaint. As though they couldn't believe Maya had triumphantly returned, eyes darted everywhere. She was approached by an elderly clerk who was crying. "I sincerely apologize for all that you endured, Miss Jackson. We didn't know." Maya forced a little, empathetic grin. "Thank you for your concern. Now it's over." However, Maya was aware that the memories would always be with her. She recalled Warwick's racist sneer, the weight of the charges, and the nights spent in the jail cell. It would take time for her to heal, but at least she was free, and her daughter would see that justice in America still had a chance, even if it was delayed. Agent Sean and Supervisory Special Agent Grant arranged a low-key news conference, where Maya plucked up the bravery to talk to reporters for a few minutes. She gave a sincere remark, thanked her lawyer, and thanked the FBI for their efforts. "Please don't give up if you are experiencing injustice. The system may appear to be biased against you at times, yet there are wonderful people who will support you in times of need. Continue to fight." There was a round of applause. Maya and Brianna fought to reconstruct their lives behind the scenes. Maya was able to secure a new position at a smaller financial company that respected her bravery. Although the media finally moved on to the next issue, Maya's case made an impression and prompted formal investigations into the number of people who had been harmed by Warwick's judicial wrongdoing. Maya gave herself a single moment of pride on the day her civil complaint was settled, resulting in a multi-million-dollar compensation and a legally required examination of Crestview Bank's internal procedures. She donated a portion to a civil rights nonprofit that promotes court reform and another piece to an education fund for Brianna. If she had any influence over the unjust cycle, she would not allow it to continue. News sources told Maya that Judge Warwick tried to make a compromise by turning on other dishonest authorities. The appeals were ignored. He was portrayed as a man who felt above the law because of his position, race, and connections as more and more individuals testified against him. But at last the law had called. Maya and Brianna were walking hand in hand around the park one sunny Sunday morning. Free from the shadow of her mother's struggles, Brianna giggled as she ran over the grass. Maya paused to close her eyes and enjoy the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the breeze on her cheeks. She was thankful for the lessons she had learned about tenacity, community, and the unstoppable power of truth, not for the suffering she had gone through. And although Maya will always remember the prejudiced judge grinning at her from the other side of the courtroom, she also had a better reputation now. The day he was cuffed away, unable to use his hatred and corruption to ruin another life. Maya persevered until the end, and justice, despite its wounds and abrasions, showed through like a ray of hope. The story of Maya Jackson serves as a reminder that even the most ominous clouds of corruption can be penetrated by truth. Even when everything appeared to be against her, a racist judge, a strong banker, and a system designed to intimidate, Maya remained steadfast in her conviction that justice would be served. Unexpectedly, she found supporters in a committed journalist, a sympathetic lawyer, and an unrelenting FBI agent who was out to eradicate the corruption in Crestview County. Their united determination overthrew a corrupted empire of bribery and oppression, demonstrating that one brave voice may start a domino effect of change. We sincerely appreciate you viewing and participating in Maya's terrifying yet motivational tale. If you thought her victory was as inspiring as we did, please like this video, tell your friends about it, and follow our channel for more inspirational tales of justice, tenacity, and hope. Your assistance enables us to keep bringing the truth to light.